And welcome to the fourth quarter ABGPA Luncheon. We're happy to have you here in person today. And I know some of you I've run into at either our qualifying or our play shoot, but this is the first time we're able to have an in-person luncheon since February. So we're happy to be able to host and appreciate Sarah accommodating us and taking all the right precautions here with social distancing and whatnot. So please just continue to do what you've been doing. Wearing masks when you get out and go to the restroom or grab a drink or anything like that. And we are excited to have you here today. And just a couple quick announcements. So if you haven't been to our website at all recently, just please continue to go out there and check it out. And there's not really a whole lot happening the rest of this year. We do hope to potentially have a event next month, a holiday mixer of some sort. We'll be announcing that when more details are developed. As far as events in 2021, we'll have our standard mix of luncheons and all body play shoot. We're hopefully doing catching up on some missed opportunities from this year, doing some events in the spring, assuming that things are better and we can do that. We also are now accepting call for speaker ideas. So if you or a colleague or a good friend are interested or you feel would be a good option for us at either one of our luncheon speaking engagements or an upcoming technical conference, we have a technical roundtable as well. Feel free to submit an application for that. We are also looking for volunteers to step into committees and potential board positions. So if you yourself or a colleague are interested in being more involved with GPA, please contact us through the website. Also, if you have time today, we have a board meeting that's going to directly precede this luncheon. So if you're interested just to see how we all operate and learn a little bit more about the organization, feel free to stick around and join that meeting as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and ask Nikki to come on up. Nikki is our speaker today, Nikki Campbell. She's going to be presenting on leveraging LinkedIn for personal and business success. She is a successful entrepreneur and business owner with more than 20 years experience in corporate communications in a variety of industries: food and beverage, consumer packaged goods, public utilities, and healthcare. After witnessing the toll a demanding career can take on executive's health, she shifted her career focus to become a certified personal trainer and health coach. Today, she operates the Flourish Group, a wellness firm that provides fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle coaching to busy professionals in workplace wellness programs to businesses of all sizes. She keeps her communication skills sharp by consulting with health and wellness companies to help them sharpen their messaging and content. That's what she'll be focusing our presentation on today. So please join me in welcoming Nikki.
I'm loud, so I may not use. Thank you, Drew, for inviting me to be here and talk about this. So as Drew said, I own a health and wellness company now, but for 20 plus years, we'll just say 20 plus. I don't want to put a real number around it. I was in communications, marketing, PR field for some pretty big brands. I worked for McDonald's for almost 10 years in their corporate communications division. I've worked for UPN Light. I've worked for UPMC. So, industries everybody loves to hate. So I've been in some interesting situations. So what do I know? I've been 20 years as a storyteller, somebody who has worked, like I said, in industries that a lot of people like to blame for things. Nobody likes to pay their electric bill. Everybody blames McDonald's for it. And I've been a message maker behind the scenes for good and bad. When Hurricane Sandy hit the East Coast, McDonald's stepped in and fed people from Miami to Maine. When we have obviously when there's a big power outage, just seeing like getting boots on the ground, making sure that people are getting their power. So some good things, some, viral videos that I'd rather, forget in my years at McDonald's, things that have happened and have gone on to social media and taken a life of their own. But today, I'm a small business owner and I'm a company of one. And so I do all of my own marketing, all of my own social media, everything, all of my accounting, everything. So now that's where I find myself. So what we're going to cover today is really just, a little bit more about LinkedIn. Geez, I got a trigger finger.
Yep.
All right. Okay, I won't be so trigger happy there. Okay, so we're going to talk about just a little bit more about LinkedIn. It was one of the earliest social media networks and one of the last for people to really, kind of embrace and take on. Who's using it? How does it work? And what are the best practices that we're seeing to create profiles and posting content? Because I think the profile thing is, yeah, you have to update it every once in a while, but it's not something you spend every day on, whereas content and how you're engaging with people is really something that you should be paying attention to at least a couple of times a week. So this is, and it's really funny, as I did the research, LinkedIn is just, the numbers are growing by the day. So I found several different numbers. This was the most recent, I believe, as of a few months ago, but there's 706 million members in 200 countries worldwide. So while the US has the bulk of that, if you're a company that is working internationally or trying to recruit people internationally, LinkedIn users are everywhere. So we can't ignore it. So isn't it just an online resume? My son, who is 21, he's at Point Park, and he had to create, for one of his classes, he had to create a LinkedIn profile. You would have thought that he was asked to, he was, what is this? I don't understand. It's just a resume. It's not. It is now, like I said, established in 2002. It's been around for a long time. It is now a source of information, educational platform. There are trainings there. This is more than just, I'm looking for an employee, I'm looking for a job. It's how companies are generating leads. It's networking. And let's face it, this year, how many networking events have we been to or been able to go to? LinkedIn, and maybe that's part of the reason it's grown so much even this year, but it really is kind of keeping people connected in the business world. And it's a gateway to other platforms, your website, things like that, where people find you there, but then they're able to link to you in other channels. So who's using LinkedIn? In short, they're young, they're educated, they're diverse. More men than women, 50%, 57% men, 43% women. Like I said, the biggest group are Americans. 51% of those have college educations, 70% are outside the US, and 61% are between 25 and 44. Those are millennials. It's not a surprise, they're a huge generation, they're a huge part of the workforce. So when they are looking for employers, when they are looking for companies to do business with, they want to see themselves reflected in what you're putting out there on LinkedIn. So usage and engagement. 57% of the traffic is mobile. I do spend time on LinkedIn on my desktop because I'm getting old and I can't see, and so it's easier, but for the most part, people are using their mobile phones to engage on LinkedIn. So what you put out there has to look as good as it does to you on your desktop as it does to someone on their phone. Engagement has increased 50% year over year. The algorithm, which I found this really interesting, because if you're on Instagram, which is very heavily influenced, or heavily used by influencers, on LinkedIn, what they're doing now is they're prioritizing the content of your connections. So if Gary and I are connected on LinkedIn and he's putting out consistent content and I'm, clicking on it or whatever, I'm going to see Gary is more than I'm going to see Gary Vee. I don't know if any of you know who Gary Vee is. He's like this kind of motivational, crazy businessman, puts out these crazy videos. Look him up, Gary Vee. He's entertaining if nothing else. But his videos, if I'm on Instagram or some other platform, I might see his stuff more. What LinkedIn is trying to do is they're trying to put your connections and your people you have followed in your newsfeed because they want it to be more relevant. 30% of a company's engagement comes from employees. Employees feel more comfortable sharing your content from your business on LinkedIn than they do any other platform. So if you think about Facebook, and your business might have a page on Facebook, maybe not, would your employees share that information on their Facebook profile? It's a lot less likely than if they're on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is about business. And so they see that as an appropriate way to share information. So again, reason why to really focus on the content that you put out there and engaging your employees, making sure they're following you, connected to you. These last two bullets I found really interesting. So 40% of users access it every day. So I do. I go on LinkedIn every single day. But total for the month is 17 minutes. So basically what that's saying is people are going there with a purpose. So how much time, do you all have, if you have an iPhone, you get your weekly screen time, where you're like, oh wow, I've been spending a lot of time on my device. But if you look at the numbers for Facebook, what do we do on Facebook? We scroll and scroll and scroll. You spend a ton of time on Facebook. LinkedIn, people are coming there for a purpose, to connect, to find some information, to look for jobs. So their time is limited, but it's a little bit more quality time because they're actually there for a purpose versus just scrolling. From a business perspective, this is where the decision makers are. So just in talking to a few of you today, I have two friendly faces in the audience that I went to high school with. You can believe that. One of them has a picture of Anaheim High School, which thank you for that, Justin. You drew that trip down memory lane.
I want to see it.
But in a conversation, hey, look, if I could go back to that week, I'd take okay, I would respond with that. But in talking to Justin, I said to him, I see your sister's pictures on Facebook, and Justin's not really on Facebook, so I don't connect with him. So as a business owner, as a business leader, he may spend more time on LinkedIn because that's what he has time for, and he's going there to make decisions about whatever. So these people who are on LinkedIn, they're CEOs, they're C-suites, they're MBA graduates, they are opinion leaders. So they're influential and they can spend money with you. So it's definitely something to consider as you're looking at all the different platforms, which we're going to talk about next. So how does LinkedIn compare? And it's so funny, as soon as I did this, I'm like, oh, I forgot YouTube, I forgot TikTok. There's so much out there. There's so many opportunities, for your business to spend money on social media platforms. So if we look at the different platforms, Facebook is obviously the big elephant in the room. There are more users of Facebook than any other platform. Instagram, but so let's look at Facebook as Facebook's like your daily paper. You're going to get a little bit of everything. You're going to see lifestyle stuff. You're going to see business posts. You're going to see sponsored ads. It really is kind of all over the map. So it's more of like the daily newspaper. Instagram, so there's 1 billion users there. Most are very young, 18 to 29, and it's visually based. So it's, these are people who are posting pictures. It started with posting pictures of food. But now everything is about the photography on Instagram. So I like to think of it as, from a business standpoint, it's like the glossy magazine of social media platforms. So it's very visual. You can't just put, kind of the average pictures out there. They will not get the attention that they deserve. Twitter, again, young audience, a lot of users, 280 characters. This is what it reminds me of. This will, I guess, maybe age me, although I still think they do it. it's the news ticker on the TV, like as you know, like you're watching the morning news, the national headlines are kind of scrolling on the bottom. That's Twitter to me. It's very politically driven. It's real time. It's breaking news. Like I say to my kids, the election. Let's just that's all that's been permeating media and TV. I'll say to my daughter, "Oh, what's going on in Nevada?" And she's like, "Oh, let me go to Twitter." Like that's where when she's 27, that's where she's going for like breaking news. Would never occur to her to go to CNN or to MSNBC or Fox News. She's going to go to Twitter and see what's going on there. So to me, that's more breaking news. The thing about Twitter too is that, in the industries that I've worked in, like I said, public utilities, fast food, healthcare, Twitter, if you're going to play in the Twitter space, you have to be ready for what comes with that. And it can be very swift, very, very critical. When you put yourself out there on Twitter, the response is hard and fast. I mean, you will know how people feel about what you're putting out there very quickly. Then that leaves LinkedIn. So like I said, 700+ million users, and it is all business. It's career and professional focused. The business publication of social media, so it's like the Business Times. You're going to see so-and-so got promoted and somebody's won a new contract, or there's a new product that a company has launched. Those types of stories you're going to see on LinkedIn. So why is LinkedIn important? It has, it doesn't have a huge, people are not on it for hours a day. You would say, maybe my business is more suited, or me as a professional, I should be on Facebook more and networking there. It cuts through the clutter. So LinkedIn is all business for the most part. Ladies, I'm sure you've gotten some interesting inbox messages saying that that's happening. But it's all business for the most part. And not that you guys aren't either, because you're all users visit with a purpose. So they are there to connect, they're there to network, they're there to build a career or a business. And you, as either somebody who works in sales or business development, you're reaching potential clients. You're reaching people who are making decisions to buy products. So the business opportunity, 30 million companies are on LinkedIn. It's 277% more effective at generating leads than Facebook or Twitter. And the reason is for that, so kind of digging into that number a little bit, there's such an opportunity on LinkedIn for longer form content. So you can almost create your own blog on LinkedIn for your business or for yourself and get a ton of interaction with it. So people, when they go there, yes, they're not spending a ton of time, but if you can hook them in with the right content, they're going to be, interested in you and more leads will come from there. 4 out of 5 people on LinkedIn drive business decisions. Whatever that means, whether it's sales, whether it's partnerships, most of the people there are driving business decisions. 90% of marketers use LinkedIn for lead generation. This is interesting. We're going to talk about messaging later, but the LinkedIn mail has a 52% open rate. If anyone has done direct mail or email marketing, 52% is like a unicorn. You're never going to capture that. So really interesting there. We'll talk about what makes a good message. And the cost per lead is less than Google AdWords, which I don't do a lot of that. My daughter has a business, she does digital marketing. That's a rabbit hole. And you can spend a lot of money doing Google AdWords and different online advertising. And then finally, companies that post weekly see a 2-time lift in engagement with our content. So we're again talking about what to post and how often. Consistency is one of those things. So how does it work? And I don't want to assume that you don't know this.
I have a question for the email and LinkedIn. Does it tell you when somebody opens it or their email or whatever?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I want to say that you can see that it was open, but I'll check. I'll see. I'm not sure. Some of the services, so if you have a premium account, I think you can see some more analytics than just like if you were messaging somebody. Any other questions?
I guess sort of related to InMail is InMail when it comes in and it has like a little yellow, shaped like
Yes.
a little icon or something next to it.
Yeah, so they pay, that's a LinkedIn premium.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that
so,
means someone paid someone to send me a message.
right, so you get, depending on the level of the premium service, there's like a couple of different levels, you get so many InMail messages. You can message people on LinkedIn, I mean, you can still do that for free, but the InMail, you get so many free, because there are some people, so if you're talking about like CEOs, not everybody is, you're not able to message everyone. They have, settings on their account, but you can't just, like, I can't message, the head of
Bill
McDonald's.
Gates.
Right. Yeah, so, but InMail does get you access to some of those, and it's widely used. So, for some companies, that makes sense. All right, so how does it work? Like I said, I don't want to assume you don't know what you're doing, but it's relationship based. And I think the way I tell people to look at it, it's like this room, but online. So it's online networking, it's connections versus friends and followers. I have connections on LinkedIn that I would never be friends with on Facebook. It's just, we don't have any similar interests. We are connected because there's a business need and benefit to that. And it's funny because, there's some people you think, oh, I'm going to find them on Facebook. And they're like, nope. Stay connected on LinkedIn. You can follow on LinkedIn. It's somewhat easier to kind of get access to influencers or people who, on Facebook you probably would never maybe even find them or be able to interact with them. And I'll give you an example. I did a 2-year contract with King Light, and their CEO, Steve Mallight, is very engaged on LinkedIn, and he responds to comments, and he likes things, and he shares things, which, not every CEO should be doing that because, they're not maybe as savvy, in terms of messaging, but he is interacting. There are people who are interacting with the CEO of a company that they would maybe never get that opportunity to. So more executives out there engaging with people on LinkedIn and other networks. It's going to suggest connections for you, so it's very simple to kind of get started. I had a friend of mine who is also in the fitness industry, and she said, I don't know, should I be on LinkedIn? Instagram is where, fitness professionals are. There's just how unhealthy executives are. Like, do you know how much they need those services just as much as, say a mom who's looking at Instagram. So her biggest barrier or her roadblock was, well, I don't even know who to add. I'm like, they make it very easy. So if you haven't gone into your LinkedIn profile in a long time, and we're going to show, kind of talk about what to put on there. If you haven't got in a long time, they make it very easy. They're going to give you they're going to give you tons of suggested contact connections. So it's going to be everyone from, who you went to high school with to, your 2 people removed from somebody you worked with 10 years ago. Not all of them make sense to connect with, but they make it very easy to build your network and to build it very quickly. And it's, so I wanted to mention this because people don't realize this. Like, somebody can see, people can see when I look at their profile. Yes, LinkedIn, people will see when you look at their profile. It's okay. You should be looking at people's profile. If you go back every day and look at their profile, that's where, I'm like, maybe that's enough. But it's good because it's showing interest in what that person is doing. And many times it's kind of a way to say, like, I'd like to connect with you, but maybe I'm not going to be so assertive to do that because I don't know you. There's all sorts of ways that you can read into it, but look at people's profiles. It is totally fine because then if you do decide there are good connections to make, you've done the research and you can make a more authentic connection versus just kidding, connect. So just an FYI, people can see. So some best practices on your profile. So I want you to look at, and you can even do this while we're talking. I'm not gonna be offended if anybody doesn't know that. Look at the profile from an outsider perspective. And I think there's a way in LinkedIn, like Facebook, where you can look at your profile as the public sees it. So look at it from an outsider perspective. You know, the first thing is your profile picture, which I've had it there on the third bullet, but really let's talk about that first. So it should never be you at a party with like two other people and you somehow like cropped out. So now it looks like you're like this with like your arms not quite, you cropped your friend out of the picture. No candid pictures, no selfies, no leaving it blank either. You don't have to go and pay for a professional photo, but get someone in your office or get somebody who's, I don't know, your family, somebody who just put you against a plain backdrop in a professional, whatever it is that you wear on a daily basis, and take a picture. But please, 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 no selfies, no. So try to be as professional as possible, even if it's a couple years ago. Like it's okay. I'm gonna put that picture with Justin right there. That'll fill up the entire circle. Get the headline right. So this is as a writer and somebody who has been working with words for 20 years, when I see, and I don't know if any of you have it, I'm sorry if you're offended, but anyone who puts I'm an inspiring change maker who, helps people transform their lives, like nobody's looking for that. They're looking for an accountant. They're looking for a service provider. I get that you want to portray yourself as somebody who's, who can inspire people, and that's great. There's a time and a place for it. I'm a certified health coach and personal trainer. Like if somebody is looking for that, I want them to find that and I want them to see it in the headline of my profile. I don't need to, go on about how transformative my services are. Like that comes later when I talk about them. So say what you do, say who you are, so that when somebody is searching for personal trainer, or they're searching for accountants, or they're searching for a VP of business development, they find you. Okay, so create a compelling summary, short and sweet. Again, for me, mine is more focused on my business. So I talk about what my business does, but use keywords. So make sure that you are at least doing a little bit of competitive analysis with your, even people who are in the same job as you or in the job that you want to have. What are they putting on their profile? What are your competitors putting on their business pages? You should be mirroring what is out there in the industry so that the keywords, when people are searching for whatever it is that you do, the service that you provide, that they're finding your business or they're finding you as a professional. Make sure your experience is all up to date. I know there's a few of you who are like me, you've got more than a couple of decades of experience. You don't need to go back to like your first job in high school, but make sure in the last 15, 20 years, even if you've had multiple positions at the same company, that it really is up to date, it's accurate on what you did. It's not enough to say, you were the vice president of business development. Like, what did you achieve? What are your results? Because people want to, if they get that far, they're gonna dig a little deeper. The skills section, these last four, these are kind of in order of importance. So the skills, these are things that you might have in addition to your education. Education obviously is important, although the further we get in our careers, it becomes less important, where you graduated from, until you're looking again to make connections and you want to connect with people from your school. Recommendations and then professional organizations. So just go through, I think, so up there, like under my logo, it says add profile section. If you click on that in your profile, that will give you all the different categories that you can add to. So the recommendations and the professional organizations, things like that. Make sure that you have awards, things that you've won in the past, any kind of recognition. It's really, really important to have that kind of robust profile because people want to see, like, if you've been in industry for 20 years, what have you been doing? So it's really important to make sure that those things are up to date, simple language, keywords, don't overthink it. From a business profile, from a business page or business profile. So there are two schools of thought. So you can keep your individual page like I do. I don't have a business LinkedIn page, but this is the one. So I just use my personal profile for my business. But either way, you really want to make sure, again, you have the right profile. You have a banner that kind of brings you in, that catches people's attention. I'm going to show you Duquesne Light here in a minute because they really do a very nice job on their LinkedIn page. Again, same kind of concepts, use compelling language, keywords in the about section, list jobs. That's what people, they're still going there for jobs and to network. Highlight your people and their achievements. People want to see that people succeed in your company. So they want to see, one, they want to see people that look and reflect them. So again, going back to diversity and having women in your photos and making sure that you're representing everyone who you would like to work with you. Use voices from all levels and all functions. So again, it's great that Duquesne Light CEO uses his platform to be very vocal, but they also engage the HR manager who did a session on diversity and inclusion. They engage, a junior, apprentice line worker who's, just kind of coming out of the apprentice program, asking them what their experiences are. So use all different, it doesn't always have to come from the top. It's important to show all levels, all job functions. And then at the end of the day, you want to make sure there's some kind of call to action. Visit our website, there's a button for it. Visit website, contact us, whatever that is. Make sure that there's, what do you want people to do? Now, I don't know if this is going to work, but I wonder if I can just.
Yeah. I can help you. So I'll have to pull this over. It's okay. Let me exit presentation.
Not been so interactive. So I just wanted to point out, like, it's very simple. It's very, just.
I can quarterback it for you.
Well, I was just going to scroll up and down.
Oh, sure.
But when you see it, so it's, what does Duquesne Light do? They power most of Pittsburgh, well, all of Allegheny County, parts of Beaver County. But look at that. It's like every light in the city is on, so it really does kind of communicate what they do. It's very simple. Their tagline, larger than light, is right under their logo. It's follow, it's visit the website. There's a call to action. In the about section for companies that are larger and maybe do have like a boilerplate for your company, you put out press releases and there's that about XYZ company. That's a perfect way, that's a perfect amount of information to put in the about section because you don't want to, you don't want people having to read through 6 paragraphs about what Duquesne Light does. As you go down, go back to the home. They make sure that, like on the home.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, sorry. So as you scroll down, they have videos posted. They have people highlights. They really do kind of embrace everything that you can get out of LinkedIn. So it's just a good example. If you're, it's a similar industry, it's just, they do a lot of professional development, training, things like that, and they promote it all on LinkedIn. So if you get a chance, look at their LinkedIn page because it really is a good example. So we can go back.
Okay.
Thank you. Need to be so employer, you know, do they know you do it? Like, you know, I mean, while I was doing this, you know, while I was working for GPA Light and some of the other clients I had, I've been building my business, so it was on there, both of them are. So I don't think it's an issue as long as, you know, no surprises to your employer.
No conflict of interest.
Yes, no conflict of interest, like we're gonna start my own power company, so we're gonna. Okay, so best practices when you're expanding your network. And this is a theme that I'm gonna have for a couple of slides, quality versus quantity. So I'm sure if you are active on LinkedIn, you have had somebody, you know, connects with you and you're like, who in the world is this? You have zero common connections. You know, like part of me thinks that it's like bots. I'm like so paranoid, like I'm letting the Russians in because you know, I'm looking at this contact and where did this person come from? So it really is about quality versus quantity. Just because LinkedIn suggests all of these people who all went to the same college as you, doesn't mean you should be adding them. However, you should be looking through them. If you have 50, 60, 100 plus common connections, you probably should. I mean, you've got enough of a network that it makes sense. Even if you didn't work with them, it's kind of it's a balancing act. You know, so if you look at it, you've got one person in common and don't even really know the person in common, it's just, you know, somehow got connected, versus for my, you know, McDonald's life, there are people who come up, I never worked with at McDonald's, but we have like 95 connections in common. I will add them, I will connect with them because we have so many people in common that we have probably crossed paths. And it's not unusual to get a request like that. Think about who your ideal client or your ideal employee or employer is as you start to look at who you want to connect with. So for me, for workplace wellness, I want to connect with HR people and anyone who's kind of in that like decision-making tier at a company, somebody who would have responsibility for employee well-being. So I'll look for VPs of HR, I'll look for directors of HR and benefits, or there are very few directors of wellness, but some companies do have that. So those are the people that I'll look for. So you want to make sure that you are, yes, it's great to connect with all these people that I went to college with, and I'm so grateful that I connected with Gary, but you know, it's important to kind of keep in mind, who are you trying to reach? Because otherwise you're just adding just people. It's not just people, but it's just, they're not connections that are going to benefit you and your business or theirs. Start with the recommended connections. I think we talked about that. Search for past companies. You know, so you may have worked somewhere 20 years ago, but put that in as a search and see who comes up. It's people who you know, have long forgotten about, but now they're doing something that is relevant or interesting to you, and it might be a great way to reconnect. Be deliberate, like I said, put the time into, is this the right person? You know, should I be connecting with them? Don't be afraid to look at someone's profile. And endorsements work. So have you ever gotten a recommendation or an endorsement and you're like, where did that come from? I literally just made this contact and this guy is now saying, I'm an expert in public relations. I'm like, well, I appreciate that, but I don't know you, I've never worked with you. How can you say? How can you be terrible at public relations? But so, endorsements and recommendations are great. Make sure you know the person and their work before you put your name on a recommendation or an endorsement, because it's there. It's, you know, it stays there, and you are directly associated with that.
The endorsements are the ones where you have an industry experience or a specialization,
Yeah.
or something like that. You don't really know who gives you the endorsement sometimes, right?
It's a little, sometimes it's a little unnerving because you're like, I never worked with you. I mean, I appreciate it, but yeah, so and the ones that I do get when I do know the person, to me, those are so much more valuable because they have worked with me to know, you know, what I'm able to do. So they do work and they're worth putting the effort into. If it's, you know, your direct reports, go and get them a recommendation or something that they do really well, you know. If it's your boss, maybe there's think that you're jockeying for a promotion or something, but whatever, you know, it's fine. So for individual content, again, quality over quantity, you don't have to, it's not like Twitter or some of the other ones where, people post multiple times a day. Engage. So like, share, and comment. Those are the 3 things that you can do not only to help your company, but to help other people. So, you see something that is, that resonates with you, yes, definitely like it. If you're like, wow, this is great, share it. And then, comment on it on the original post, because what that does, and if you start to look at your post performance on your individual profile, when even 1 or 2 people comment on your post, like I'll go from my average post will have like 200 views. If 2 people comment on my post, it will go up to like 600-700 views, because everyone who they're connected to sees that they've commented on that post. And so it immediately like gets a lot of traction. So the best thing you can do for, again, your company, your colleagues who really do want to help them from a social media standpoint is to like, share, and comment on their information. Tag companies and contacts. If you see somebody doing something great and you share their post, make sure to tag them, and make sure that when you do share a post, offer some perspective. This is your opportunity too to position yourself as an expert on whatever that content is. So if you see something, you're like, wow, this is great, my network should definitely see this. When you do that, it's going to come up in a new post. Make sure you add some commentary, some perspective on it. Tag the person who posted or tag the company that's mentioned. It all helps us, it all works together to make sure everybody's getting a little bit more visibility on their posts. Think like your potential employer. What do they want to see? So if somebody's looking for you, they go to your profile and you've got all the profile stuff down, like all your education, your experience, everything. But then they go and your activity is like happy anniversary to somebody who celebrated 25 years, and it's sporadic or it's not engaging. You're not offering them a look into what your expertise is. So be always thinking like, what if I were looking to hire someone like me, what would I want to see on their LinkedIn profile? And it's okay to show, the human side of your life. It's okay to post pictures of your kids, in context of what you're trying to achieve. Some of the best posts, I asked my daughter about this, why is it that when I post a picture of myself versus like if I go find a really great picture of a gym or something, if I'm talking about a workout, why is it when I post a picture of myself, I get more engagement? And she's like, first of all, she said social media algorithms know that that's a stock photo. So if there's like a picture that I've taken from Canva, or I've gotten it from Adobe stock photos, that photo's been used somewhere else. So basically, LinkedIn, Facebook, they all know that. So they're like, not original. When you use a picture of yourself, when you use original pictures of your employees, when you have original content that has not been put out there by another company, if there's a picture of a work site that obviously another company would put out there, it gets more engagement, it gets more looks on it because it's original, and the way the software works, the way that the platform works, it takes that and rewards you for putting original content out there.
As far as the debate platform, obviously politics has been permeating all social media platforms. Yet you're encouraging some, voting on that post.
Yeah.
However, you're not endorsing or any candidate,
Right.
Or whatever. What's your thought on LinkedIn in terms of politics? Our industry obviously advocates for energy and energy security and all that. Obviously, it sways one side versus the other. What is your opinion on how much you do that and not getting into debates?
Right. So
it's happening more and more.
I would say you're never going to be immune to it. It's politics, controversy is going to permeate any social media platform. So here's what I would say. So posts like that, and I put it up there purposely. That's about civics. That's about getting out and voting. It's not endorsing anything. I post on Veterans Day. I post on Memorial Day. I make sure that those kind of important American holidays are something that I call attention to. I think when it relates to policy, absolutely. That's your livelihood, and that is, and most bigger companies have a government affairs department or, work with a lobbying firm who would give you kind of the right, the right things to post without it being, we're endorsing a candidate. It's more about endorsing the idea of a policy that is important to your industry. So yes, I would say if it's a policy initiative, so there was a piece of legislation that was at the state level and then maybe at the federal level that was all about licensing for nutritionists. So I will finish up a degree in dietetics, and the title nutritionist is used widely by people who have zero qualifications to be using it. It's not a regulated, it's not like a nurse or another licensed profession where it's protected. So there was legislation that was on the floor of either the state or it might have been a federal law that they were trying to pass that protected that and had these, so yes, absolutely, I'm going to advocate for that. And that doesn't really necessarily, take a side one way or the other. I mean, maybe it's used one, more conservative, I don't know. But for me, that's my profession, and that's protecting the investment that I've made in education to be a nutritionist, to be able to call myself that. So I think as long as it is done professionally and it is related to your industry, I think it's fine.
Well, I guess at the same time, if you're a job seeker and you have some of that on your social media platforms, it could be a risk you're taking.
It can be, and we're going to talk about that because you can't change who you are, so I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I would look very carefully at what you're posting and the language that you're using, but I mean, you are who you are, and if you have those beliefs and you have that, you feel strongly about something, you might attract the right employer.
Yeah. Right.
So it can go both ways. I would say just be very careful in terms of just where you're getting your information and how you're, how you're positioning. Yeah. Yeah. It's never an easy thing. Somebody's not gonna like it.
More so today.
Yeah, more so literally. That's sweet. So yes, it's okay to show, who you are. From a business perspective, consistency is really important. So I recommend 2 to 3 times a week to post something about your business. Put together a content calendar. So it's super simple. There are templates all out there. Hootsuite is a platform where you can manage multiple social media platforms, and they offer a ton of resources, free resources, in terms of like templates and how to set up your social media schedule. Because if you're getting to the point where you're really taking LinkedIn or really any other social media platform seriously for your business, you need consistency and you need to have a plan. So for me, my Monday, it's, cheesy. I mean, it's like Monday motivation and it's a tip on Tuesday. I'm not overthinking this. It's just, I have something for every day of the week that I post. I plan it out, I schedule it, and it goes, it goes on there so that I have consistency, because that's the other thing with any social network. Consistency gets you more visible.
Can you overdo it though and then become kind of people tune out?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. You can definitely overdo it. As long as it's, so here's where you could overdo it. You launch a new product and that's all you post about for 2 weeks straight. And it's all about sales and it's all about buy this. It's all about, so it really, that will turn people off pretty quickly. But if you are posting, if that's one of your posts out of 10 is, kind of a sales post and you're providing value otherwise and you're educating otherwise, it's hard to overdo it. And there's so many people on LinkedIn I have 2,500 connections. I don't see everything everyone does. So I think you're a little safer on LinkedIn. Content or monthly theme. So my theme this month, November, for my wellness business is simplifying things because we're coming into the holidays and everybody's crazy. And, so how can you simplify your workouts, your meals, all that kind of stuff. So just kind of think ahead to, what makes sense for your industry. What's happening this time of year? What should you be posting about? Be a little bit thoughtful about it. It doesn't have to be so prescribed, but just, kind of be aware. Timing, this is a big one. So with different social media platforms, there are definite times, and if you have analytics on Instagram or Facebook, you can see when people visit your page more often. But LinkedIn is a business platform. So for me, I will post either before people get to work, so in theory before 9 a.m. or sometime around midday when people might be taking a break. I don't post on weekends typically. I don't post after hours typically because, maybe yes, you might scroll while you're watching TV, but it's not going to be a meaningful interaction. So get a feel for where are people, when do they look at LinkedIn? When might be the best opportunity to get their attention? Mix it up. So like I showed you with the Pinlight's LinkedIn page, videos, links, original pictures. Stock photos are fine because you're not going to have an original picture for everything you want to post about. So, it's fine, but mix it up, so a video every once in a while or an animated post, something that just changes up what people are seeing if they're scrolling through your timeline as a business. Reflect diversity. So I'm not the person who is a fan, although I used one here because I don't have a picture to use. Don't make it up. If you don't have, we live in Western Pennsylvania, we don't have a ton of diversity here. I know there are organizations that are working on it, but try to reflect as best you can. Diversity can be diversity, obviously gender. It can be age. It can be obviously, different cultures and races and religions, things like that. Try your best to reflect what your workforce is or what your workforce, what you would like to aspire to be from a diversity standpoint. You're never going to go wrong with it, I think, unless you're constantly posting pictures or stock photos of a really diverse workforce and you don't have one. So I'm not, like I said, I don't want you to make things up, but try as much as possible to reflect a little bit of diversity. Educate first, sell second. So, most of my posts will have some kind of, education around the health or wellness issue, and then there's a call to action. And then always respond to comments, because again, when the comments happen, you get more views on the post, but when you respond to the comments and then they may respond back, now I'm going to say respond to the comments, do not engage in, like, if there's, it starts to kind of spiral with maybe, somebody could interpret, the post I had about voting, that who I'm voting for, and start down a path like that. You have control over the comments that are, in your feed and how you respond to them. What I'm saying is that when there is a comment that says, like, great job, Gary, it's, congratulations, make sure you're responding, make sure you're engaging with people because it gets more eyes on the content.
Wasn't there a school of thought at one point to not be deleting negative comments though?
So
Unless it's,
it's language, it's threats,
yeah,
it's anything that would, kind of be, posting the CEO's address, probably not a good idea. McDonald's for years didn't have comments open on their Facebook posts. And our social media team kept saying, you can't do that. I mean, you're going to have to take the good with the bad. Well, if you want some entertainment, go to McDonald's Facebook page and just scroll the comments. They are just ruining everything. But they, decided at one point, it was like 2012, which seems like it was just yesterday. But 2012, they said, fine, we're going to open up the comments and we're not going to delete any negative comments. They will respond to some where people are, where they see an opportunity to make the situation right, which is, that's a great thing. So, I don't know that your companies here in the room would have maybe that, concern of, constant comments all day long on your posts. But when you have the opportunity to find something that is wrong, because, things happen, and correct it, it is a win-win, so they got used to it. It took a while, but, yeah, so feel free to comment on interesting place in the comment section. A couple more, just best practices, so everything is news, so your company wins an award, you promote somebody, you hire somebody, you have a new product, you have a new service, you have an update to a service, an update to a product. Everything counts. Everything is an opportunity to talk about what you do. Community involvement. If you go give food to the food bank, take a picture. Like, I can't tell you how many companies overlook because they're just, they're doing what's right and they're doing something good. They forget to take a picture. They've done some food drive, or they've done, they've raised money for breast cancer awareness, and they don't take pictures. So the PR person will take the pictures. So any kind of community involvement. And then industry articles. So it's great if you have a group like this where you can put out information, and then all of you can share it as appropriate with your perspective and your take on it, where you can add value. So really, what it comes down to for business content is 3 C's. So it's, post should be something that's valuable to your customers, something that's impacting the community positively, and something that is related to careers, because that is kind of where LinkedIn started, and that's the foundation of it. So you want to make sure you're kind of hitting those. So if you post 3 times a week, there's your content out there. I'm going to post once something that's about my customers. I'm going to post something that we've done, in the community, or something that highlights that we are part of the community. And I'm going to post a job. So there you go. There's 3 things you can post about next week. So this is where it kind of gets to you are what you post. So your values, your ethics, your morals, everything comes through in what you post, for better or for worse. I think when we're younger, I was telling my son who's thought it was the worst thing to have to put together a profile. When you're younger, that it is scrutinized a little bit more. I think as we get older and are more comfortable with our viewpoints and we kind of, come to terms with who we are and what our beliefs are, it's a little different. But it comes through. Even when you're being super careful, your bias, your leanings will come through. And that's it, like I said, it can work for you or it can work against you. Language matters, and not everybody, especially when you're talking about industry jargon, not everybody interprets things the way that you do. So just be mindful of your language. Is this simple? Is this easy to understand? Is it jargon? Is it buzzword? Buzzwords are words, like I said, like you're not stop talking about transformation and start talking about what you actually do. Keep it really, really simple. Who you follow and what you like is visible. So if you like a post that is controversial, or people would categorize it as controversial, somebody can go to your LinkedIn page, click on activity, and they can see everything. They can see everything that you've liked. They can see everyone you follow. It's all there. So unlike Facebook, where it's a little harder, like people can see what you like, but I don't know that they can always see your comments, and things like that. So LinkedIn is a little different. They can see all of your activity. Balancing beliefs with alienating people. How strongly do you feel about this? And is it going to turn off, your potential employer or business contact, somebody that might buy from you? And if the old adage holds true, you wouldn't say it to your grandma, and you probably shouldn't be putting it out there for the world. If you wouldn't say it to a friend, if you wouldn't say it to somebody who's sitting in the pew next to you, then maybe just check that. And it never goes away. So this is for every social media platform. Never goes away. Screenshots are forever. Somebody, if you say something crazy or something that somebody perceives as crazy, they take a screenshot of it. I do this to my kids. I mean, I'm like, what? Take a screenshot of it because once they catch wind that I'm not happy, it disappears, but I'm back. So just know that it never goes away. The digital footprint is with you for a long time. All right. Okay, messaging. So when to send a message and when not to. Just a couple of quick tips here. Send a message, yes, it's fine. You can send it because you want to connect with somebody, build a relationship, make a personal connection. A couple of key things to do. Mention common contacts. Hey, I saw we had 50 connections in common, and I wanted to reach out because I too am in health and wellness industry. Customize versus spam. You know it as soon as you see it. A message that somebody has sent to you and 75 other people that they've connected with. I've had ones that even have the previous person's name in it. It's not even addressed to me, it's addressed to Sue. And I'm like, what is this? So customize, don't spam people. Short and direct, 100 words or less. Seek to add value and serve. So when you contact somebody saying, hey, I've got this great free resource, and they're looking for advice on how to manage stress during the holidays, here's a link to download this free guide. And then send and sit back, not follow up, an hour later, a day later, but give it a moment because people are still, again, LinkedIn is, yes, it's widely used, but not everybody is seeing every message right away. It's not like your email or text, they have to kind of go and look for it. So give it a couple of days, give it a week before you follow up. And if you follow up a second time and you still don't hear anything back, just kind of let it go. I've had to unconnect with people who it was relentless. It was like 3 days in a row and I hadn't responded. It's like, well, I don't care if you're giving whatever this is away. I'm not responding because it was so annoying. So I grabbed this out of my inbox. This is a guy who, John Walter, it's a lovely message. It's completely appropriate and perfect. We have a few mutual connections, introduces himself. He's a financial advisor looking to expand my network. Let us set up a time, blah, blah, blah. Name, phone number. If I want to get in touch with him, got it, John. I already have a financial advisor, sorry. But nothing not overly I can save you this much money right now and you have to, get back to me. And, it's totally fine, John. Look, he's got a nice profile picture. He doesn't look like a creep. So we're going to talk about LinkedIn premium. There's a lot of creeps out there.
Ask a question.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how many insurance people know that they need insurance. How many Indian engineers know that they need engineers? I mean, billions.
Yeah.
So my rule of thumb on those two is just to be more. Because if I say no thanks, I'm already ahead of lots of insurance. So I just ignore it. So I never hear from again. As soon as I answer, I'm bombarded forever.
So you're right. So there is a very fine line. So I make a look at John's profile before I respond. And notice that, he's actually who he says he is. There are some that I'll go look at the profile and no, not respond to this because to the point, it will be, like I said, there's a ton of consultants or coaches out there. So everybody has got a way that they're going to get me 50 new coaching clients next week. I mean, I'm like, first of all, I cannot handle 50 new coaching clients. But so I have tried what you said. I responded, no, thank you, and they won't stop. So those I know. So I think you can kind of, you've got a filter, and I think you know what to respond to and what not to. I did respond to him, and I said, thank you so much for reaching out. Glad to have you in my network. I already have a financial advisor, but if that changes, I'll let you know. But I think you'll be able to know which ones you shouldn't, and not like you already do. But it's not required that you respond. There is no, it's nice to do when it's somebody you do actually have connections with. Like I would bet a lot of those you might not have meaningful connections in common. So I would be like, probably just ignore it. Slow it down. Because they're on to like 700 other people after you. Because their strategy is to just put as many out there as possible, knowing that like 2 might respond. All right, so LinkedIn Premium. So there are four levels here. I'm going to talk about just briefly. I swear I did not. Okay, so about 40% of LinkedIn users pay for some kind of premium service. So I have the Sales Navigator, which I have a link here. But there are different levels. So careers, obviously, people who are really seriously in the job market and want to have access to some connections and LinkedIn mail, that type of thing. There's business. I don't know a ton about each one of these. The Sales Navigator, what I do like about that, so for a business like mine where I'm one person, it's like a dashboard that gives me, I can put my leads, so people I want to connect with, I can save them there. I can follow companies in my industry so that I don't have to go through my own timeline to find that, I want to know what, Cigna is doing with health coaching, how are they doing that? I follow Cigna, I follow, some of the big insurance companies in that Sales Navigator dashboard, so I can see it kind of automatically versus trying to weed through my own timeline. And then there is a version of this that is for recruiters. Now, big companies, they have different, they have, $100,000 to $200,000 a year contracts with LinkedIn to do recruiting, and they have separate pages for that. So for the purposes of today, there are a couple of ways that you can upgrade your LinkedIn experience. I honestly don't recommend it unless you're really, if your company is really in that mode of business development. The Sales Navigator program or level of membership it's not super expensive, and it gives you a little bit more in terms of insights and things like that. So just a brief overview of that. So I was going to look at your LinkedIn and give you a few tips.
Paul, you were stepped away for a minute there. Just drag it across. Oh, wait, it opened right up.
So you guys actually, you do a lot of things. He's there. I might change that cover photo. I don't know if so I like to see people. So I would love to see people on a job site or, just a little bit, something that's a little bit more interactive. But I don't, you've got videos there. The only thing I would say is that just more content, just seeing more of your partner companies. As far as employees, one of the things for organizations like this, I would suggest adding your board members as employees.
Yeah, I'm the only employee. What happened? What's up with that?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So, yeah, Gary's always on there. It says, "Check, Gary works here."
I put it as my one of my employment.
So you could have more than one current employer on your profile, and this. I guess I just didn't know how that works.
So on your personal profile, you can only have one current employer.
So how do I?
No, you can have two.
I think you can add employees to this. You can say, you would just not be able to highlight it as your current employer, on your page.
Yeah.
But I think that board members, you can add them as.
Well, there's volunteer experience won't show up as an employer, but I have it as an employer. So I have to have my current full-time job, and then I have this as a secondary employment.
Right, but I don't think on your
dates.
profile though, you can't have two, you have to click one that's your current.
Yeah, no, they're both current. It's the date. It's the date.
You know, they're both in the
Okay.
current dates.
Okay.
Anyway,
Maybe,
it-
yeah. But yeah, that's the only thing I would add, like maybe the board members.
Well, I don't know how long it's been since we've updated some of the content, either like the video.
that video is just one of those Hootsuite things. It's not, it doesn't even do anything. We should probably improve our video usage, but
But I mean,
Yeah.
today, so there should be a picture. I saw you were taking
Mhm.
pictures. So that should be uploaded and used
Mhm.
for a post.
We utilize Hootsuite, so we do a lot of postings.
Yeah.
I think Paul runs our communications committee,
Yeah.
so is in charge of all that, but it doesn't look like the history of those posts show up anywhere, right?
yeah, they do.
Some of them do, yeah.
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 They're
I'm just
all the
saying
way
maybe
down
mix
here.
it up a
Yeah.
little bit.
Well, we don't have a lot going on. Sometimes we have to,
So
you know,
here's
we're just trying to
the tip.
improve.
Here's the tip for that. Use your, so the companies that are in the room here, share their content. So if somebody is doing something great, or somebody's been, one of your members has received a promotion, share that on your page. So that you're showing them the value of being part of the
Yeah,
organization.
yeah, I think that's a good point. We could do more of that.
Yeah, because you're a professional organization.
Mhm.
You're not gonna have a ton of, other than events, which this year has been, you're not gonna have a lot of, like, you're not putting out products, you're not, you know what I mean? So I think anything you can do just to show your members value, share their posts, share their employee news, that type of thing.
Was that the last slide that you had? Was that link on yours?
I have a slide on just how to connect with me. if
Okay.
anybody wants to.
Trying to get back to, there we go.
Yeah, it's kind of tricky. That's good.
And just questions.
There you go. Here's a click forward.
For the quality versus quantity, is there any negative? What's the downside?
That you're not gonna see everything that everyone is doing.
You're kind of watering down.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but you also don't know, the difference is, you also don't know how many contacts they have, or how many connections they have. So they may be seeing, if they're good for you as an employer or as somebody who's job seeking, keep them on that list because they may see your content, which is what you want. Your high school, college buddies, yeah, fine, you're not gonna really, do a lot of business with them, but if they are worth having you on, worth having on your, in your connections for a business purpose or employment, then keep them.
Yeah, one of our other board members in another chapter, he just celebrated his 10,000th connection or something like that. And it was Merrill Hodge, was his 10,000th connection. But hey, he's engaging.
He is.
So, I thought it was interesting. I saw a post from a midstream operator out west, and she said, if there's anybody making political posts or anything like that, I'm going through my contacts and removing you. And boy, she got lit up on some of the comments because she works for a midstream company and she was leaning left a little bit. And she got lit up a little bit. And I was surprised by that because people that were service companies that could work for that company were actually giving her some.
And I think too, this year
Yeah.
has been, I mean, I can't remember an election or a year that's kind of been as, ripe for controversy. I think it's just people, we've all been inside too long. Like, I feel like we're really, because I've seen some things that like in the past may not have triggered somebody and then all of a sudden they are. So I think this year's unusual.
But I just think social media has opened up a lot of potential for that to happen. Because people want to do it face to face, they can just do it out in space and, they have that ability.
Yeah.
But you just gotta be careful.
Yeah. You have to own it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna put it out there.
Mark.
All right.
Any questions for Nikki?
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.